Hello everyone, welcome to WhiskyWars. Today I got a starter pack for the Glenmorangies, the core range. These sample sizes are all 100ml sizes, so it gives me just that little bit more time to spend with the whiskey and understand it more than what a traditional sample would do, because it's twice the size. Glenmorangie is part of the Highland region in Scotland, although many people can call this a speyside. It will be giving you similar characteristics to a lot of speyside whiskies. Sometimes some whiskies in speyside can call themselves highland, and it can be a little bit confusing. It's a little bit of a blurred line there. So we have the Glenmorangie 10-year-old. This is the weakest whiskey, bottled at 40% ABV. We have the Nectar d'Or, which is a non-age stated whiskey, the only one of the four that's non-age stated, but it is bottled at 46%, and this one's going to be finished in Sauternes casks, so white wine. We have the La Santa, which is a 12-year-old whiskey, bottled at 43% ABV, and this one's going to be matured in sherry casks. And we have the Quinta Reuben, which is a 14-year-old whiskey, bottled at 46% ABV, finished in port casks. So let's start off with the base spirit. It's always the best way to start off so you can understand the whiskey. And this is not a bad whiskey. In fact, this was one of my first ever bottles of whiskey that I owned. Obviously, I as you probably know, I do keep most of my bottles, but this was, you're talking 10 years ago. There's no chance I kept that bottle around. In fact, I've recently started throwing bottles away just because of storage. But it's nice, it's sweet, it's not complex, but it does give you this beautiful honeyed sweetness. It's also quite malty. Think of cereals and oats. With a lovely drizzled honey. It's fresh. It's a little bit citrusy. There's something in there, maybe a lemon. So it's a little bit lively, but that 10 years of age is really giving this whiskey some depth. And I'm glad it's been aged at 10 years and it's not a non-age stated, because that it's just rounding it off, it's softening those edges. There's a bit of life to it, there's a bit of freshness to it and zinginess, but there's enough there. That honey is really bringing it down, it's softening it up, and that cereal oaty note, malty note, it's a nice nose, although nothing spectacular. Again, the taste isn't going to surprise you from what you've picked up on the nose, although I'm getting more of a wood influence. I didn't pick up any wood on the nose, but that taste gave me a lot more wood spice. And I would also say maybe there's like a ginger in this. It seemed to give me a little bit of some more life to it. So on the nose, I mentioned there was a little bit of a citrus, but it's not strong, giving some life to the nose. The taste adds that wood spice, but also a ginger spice, and that's giving it a little bit more life. Overall, I think with this whiskey, if you're new to Scotch whiskey in general, I actually think this is a great starter whiskey. You're really just going to get base notes of a Scotch, but it's not offensive, it's an easy drinker, and actually this is a very affordable whiskey for a 10-year-old. So it's good, but not great. Okay, let's move on to the Nectar d'Or. Very different on the nose. Definitely picking up white grapes, white wine influence straight away on the nose. But after having it from the 10-year, you're also reminded that this is also a Glenmorangie. It's got a similar DNA to it, but just with a really strong white grape influence, a white wine influence. The 10-year is more honeyed and a little bit more oaty, whereas the Nectar d'Or doesn't give me that. It doesn't give me that grounding. The taste really sets this one apart from the 10-year-old. I actually think, judging just based off the nose, I wouldn't say the Nectar d'Or was much better than the 10-year-old. Different, but I like the 10-year-old on the nose. The taste is where the Nectar d'Or really takes that elevation up above the 10-year-old. Less wood spice than the 10-year-old, but there's still some wood spice there, and it's given a prickly nature to the whiskey. It almost tastes a little bit carbonated. That wine, the white wine influence is certainly dominating this whiskey. It is proof 6% higher, but it's certainly not a long finish. I would still call this a short to medium finish for the Nectar d'Or. And I think I actually get more on the nose of the 10-year-old, which might surprise a few people, because this is a lot more expensive than the 10-year-old. But I do prefer the taste on the Nectar d'Or. I'd say the 10-year has more of that oak presence, whereas the Nectar d'Or actually gets a little bit more of a sawdust. It's a sharper, more prickly wood. Okay, on to the 12-year-old now, the La Santa. And this is a sherry cask finish, bottled at 43%. Probably the strongest nose so far, just because of that sherry cask. But I'm getting spices as well. It's not just going to be red fruits, but also spices. And a little bit nutty, raisin. It's a good nose. I've had better, I think, sherry cask noses, but this is a good nose. It's a good start. That's a really nice taste. Very soft. Toffee sauce mixed with red fruits. This is not spicy. I'd say it's maybe the least spicy wood-wise, which I like on a sherry cask. I don't like my sherry cask to be too woody. This one's, it's got that lovely caramelized toffee sauce mixed with red fruits. Soft, indulgent, dessert-like, raisins, and a little bit of nut in there. A little bit of hazelnut. I like this whiskey. That was really nice, actually. Okay, finally onto the Quinta Ruben. This one's the oldest one of the four, aged 14 years, and finished in port casks. And this one's also bottled at 46%, so the La Santa's 43%. Weirdly, there's not a huge price discrepancy between these two. You get an extra 3% ABV and an extra 2 years in age, just for a little bit more price. So let's see. It's actually got a stronger nose than the La Santa, but it seems a little bit more spicier and woodier than the La Santa so far. But that could be the extra proof as well. Now, I do love a port finished whiskey, but usually I actually find port finished whiskies give me a little bit of a softer touch than a sherry finish. This one's different. It could be the higher ABV, of course, but I do get a stronger wood spice on this whiskey than I do get on the La Santa. That one, the La Santa, I got more toffee mixed with the red fruits. It was more dessert-like. The port cask is a little bit more spicy for me. I'm getting a little bit of cinnamon and ginger with that red fruit influence and more wood spice. But the nose is a stronger nose and a better nose than what is on the La Santa. I think the big differences between these two whiskies is going to be with the La Santa, you're certainly getting more of a caramelized toffee sauce. And that Quinta Ruben is really giving you a little bit more of a of a cherry and natural red fruit note than the Lasanta. The Lasanta feels more dessert-like. The Lasanta is also nuttier than the Kinta-Reuben. In fact, I'm not really picking up nuts on the Kinta-Reuben. I do really like that Lasanta though. The only thing I would say is the taste profile of the Lasanta I have had before in other sherried speyside whiskies or highland whiskies. It's a more familiar nose and taste for me. I think, so then do you value the Kinta-Reuben more than that because it's giving you something a little bit more different? And that's something to consider as well. Also with the price, I think for the extra 2 years and the 3% proof jump, the fact that it's port finished and not sherry finished, giving you something a little bit more different than maybe what you're used to, I think maybe that puts the Kinta-Reuben a little bit ahead of the Lasanta. I'm just quickly going to go through these again one more time. You won't see that, just to keep the video short, and I'll grade them, tell you their prices and rank them 1 to 4. Okay, so just going over these whiskies again. The Nectar d'Or is giving me a lovely, light, delicate, honeyed floral nature. I'm really getting a floral note on this whiskey, and it's delicate. And so I do want to mention that. I think I mentioned the white grapes. That's the first thing you're going to pick up, but for a 46%er, it's delicate and it's floral. And it's not going to blow your mind when you have it. I think if you understand that it's delicate, you can really appreciate it for what it is. It's giving you some very nice sweet notes. And then finishing off with the 10-year, after having the higher strength of these whiskies with the cask influences, it now tastes a lot worse than when I started out on it. So look, I think the Glenmorangie 10 is going to be number 4 on the list of these 4. It's going to come in last place. It's a good whiskey, I like it, but it's nothing unique, it's nothing mind-blowing. And I think the higher proof, the higher age, and the unique cask finishes of certainly the Sauternes cask, it just pales and it sits in the background. So for me, 40% as well. It's a solid whiskey, I do recommend it, but start on this whiskey, don't finish on this whiskey, because you will be a little bit more deflated with it. Good price though. I think you can pick this one up for around £28 in the UK. So I like this whiskey, but it goes in 4th place today. Now this is the interesting one that I'm in, because these 3 are actually similar. I would put them all on a similar pegging. I don't think this is as clear as the 10-year-old is in its positioning. I could on another day perhaps put them in different orders, but today this is where I'm going to rank them. The Nectar d'Or is going to go in 3rd place, and that is purely because of the price. This whiskey is the most expensive of the 4, and you can actually pick this one up for around £55 in the UK. I just think that's a little bit steep. Now, I have seen, maybe in the past, and this is the replacement whiskey, I think I saw they did a 13-year Nectar d'Or white Sauternes cask. If that's the case, I need to go back on that. That's something I recall seeing a year or 2 ago. I need to do some more research on that. That would be the one to go for. But as a non-age statement, it just drops down. For the price as well, it doesn't really match it for me. I wouldn't go out to the shops and pay £55 for this whiskey. So that's in number 3, but it was nice to try. That leaves the 2 wine finished whiskies. We've got a sherry cask and a port cask, and the 2 oldest of the 4 whiskies as well. Maybe that's got something to do with it. The Lasanta I've seen available for around £35 in the UK, although that could be when it's on offer. The Kinta-Reuben does seem to be more around that £45 mark. So there is a price difference here, albeit not huge. Honestly, if they were the same price I would go for the Kinta-Reuben. But actually today I just think if I was buying one of these whiskies again, £35 for the Lasanta, yeah, it's nice. It's a really nice, relaxed, easy sipper. It's got that caramelised toffee sauce mixed with the red fruits. It's dessert-like. I think now that we're entering into that summer territory, the warmer weather, this is maybe something more that I gravitate to. So for me, for the price, I'm actually going to put the Lasanta as number 1, which means the Kinta-Reuben actually drops to number 2. So oldest is not always the best, but I will preface this in saying on another day, certainly these two could be switched around. But my favourite today is going to be the Glenmorangie Lasanta. Just for that, if you can find it around that £35 mark. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like the video, please do drop a like on the video and don't forget to click that subscribe button down below. Just quickly guys, just a friendly reminder, if you haven't clicked that subscribe button down below but you do like the video or you do like my content, please do consider clicking that subscribe button down below. It really helps the channel to grow, so I'd really appreciate that, so thank you. And thank you so much for watching this Whiskey War, and I hope to see you all for the next Whiskey War.